So hello everyone and welcome to our UF school, today organized by Management in Gift Village. The topic of our lesson is poverty for the common good, how communal leaders can be gift generative. Today, poverty is a central keyword in the Franciscan spirituality. It's a complex and widespread challenge, which is also endowed with a transformative potential. So starting from our final statement, the art of bringing people together for common good through communal leadership, not supremacy, we propose a dialogue on the relationship between management and poverty. We believe that this relationship can happen only as long as communal leaders implement a culture of gift, solidarity, and recognition within the local community in which their organization operates. So thank you for being here. Today, our keynote discussants are Vincenzo, that is a marketing and communication manager for the social cooperative La Paranza based in Naples. Welcome, Vincenzo.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you, Martina. And of course, the ones that she's speaking is Martina Tafuro. She's PhD student in innovation and management at the University of Sant'Anna in Pisa. It's such a great honor to be here, and thanks also to our speakers.
Yeah, we have two keynote speakers. One is Teresa Ganzon, that for many years was a director of Banco Kabayan in Philippines. Welcome, Teresa. And we are very excited to have you in this dialogue. So just to start, what did you do and how did you act for being gift generative? So what is your experience?
Okay, thank you, Martina, and greetings also to all the other panelists. But to begin with, I think I would like to put in context a bit the experience that we've had, my husband and I, in rural banking since the late 70s. Actually, we found ourselves there more by family circumstance rather than choice. But when we heard about the economy of communion in 1991 from Chiara, the choice to remain in the business, particularly rural banking, and eventually adopting microfinance as a major product, was really already anchored on the desire to make an impact, no matter how small. It was also anchored in to make an impact in the aspect of social justice, building fraternity within and outside the business, and pursuing the common good. These were all the motivations that were strengthened when we learned about EOC from Chiara. More than a business or finance background, really, we were influenced by the social activism of those years that had spread across the student world. Prior to 91, the choices we made were personal in nature, and it wasn't until EOC came about that we slowly realized the enterprise itself, the organization, could share in this vocation and this call to become an agent for transformation of society and contributing to the evolution towards a fairer and more just world. We realized the importance of formation then, making discovery or koinonia weekends a part of the entry of employees in the organization, strengthening them with general assemblies where values were adopted as themes, and sharing of experiences became part of the program of the day. The traditional annual Christmas party celebrations gave way to outreach programs in the immediate communities we were operating in. We would then follow this up by processing and sharing experiences, things that serve to deepen the culture and care for the poor. We also led in responses to natural disasters, making the bank almost like a community center where people would learn to share and to give for whatever needs arose in the community. Then the development of major products geared to help both and strengthen the micro, small, and medium sectors of the economy was framed within the choice for the common good, so that account officers would always understand the why behind their actions, whether it was organizing women or disbursing loans, so that they would not fall into default or diversion, helping them understand their cash flow. In other words, it was built into the management of things to also be consultative more than anything else, so that we would understand and respond to needs rather than just market dictates, but actually genuine needs of our client sector. And it was in decisions like this, management decisions, to engage in the group microfinance, investing more in smaller transactions rather than big ones, all that influenced the building of a culture of giving within the organization. And so in time, each one in the bank, I would say, acquired this culture of giving because of constant reminders of why we were in the market we were in, why we were doing the strategies that we were employing, and why it was these products and services that we chose to deliver. And it was the alignment of both management choices in these matters as well as personal experiences that I think helped build this culture of generating gift, you would say, in the organization. Yeah. So
thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa, for your introduction that's put us straightly in the mood of the economy of Francisco. We have such a big mission. In Assisi, Pope Francis started like, I bet on you. So we felt the responsibility of this huge sentence that he said at the beginning. So I'm going to introduce our second speaker, which is the Professor Laszlo Zsolnay, Director of Business Ethics Center in Corvinus, University of Budapest. He is also president of the European SPAS, Spirituality in Economics and Society Institute. On Professor Laszlo's website, it's written on capital letter, only genuine ethics works. So it's such an inspiring sentence to open a website. And Professor Laszlo, I would like to ask you how your research and life contribute to address poverty as a common good. Oh, your microphone is off now. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you this introduction. I'm also working in Oxford, associated with the Blackfriars School at University of Oxford. This is the Dominican College, more than 800 years old in Oxford. But more importantly, related to economy of Francesco, I had a long-term collaboration with Rugino Bruni, Professor Stefano Zamagni, Helen O'Ford, and others who are behind this initiative with the Pope. And last year in Assisi, in the economy of Francesco gathering, I organized a workshop on new business models. New business models serving human flourishing and ecological regeneration. So my special interest in ethics and business and spirituality is how we can develop alternative models, alternative working models where ecology, ethics, spirituality are really embedded, not just its own element, but really embedded. So this is my main interest and contribution to the Economy of Francesco program. I have slides, but I will not show the slides. It's better just to be more lively and explain things. Maybe later on we can distribute the slides of Teresa and mine and some related papers for the participants. But no, it's better to give a live, more dynamic dialogue on important things.
Yes, also because we want to try to save times for the Q&A section, so we can go more vertically in a curiosity and on the paths that the students want to discuss about. So thanks for your introduction. And now from a small theory part, we would like to show you a short video which is a presentation of my organization. I am one of the founder of the Cooperative La Paranza, which is an organization that works, we manage the catacombs of Naples, the catacomb of San Gennaro and the catacomb of San Gaudioso. And we will show you our way to transform the poverty in generativity. So if Tanya can, thank you.
La Paranza nasce nel 2006 e nasce in maniera, come dire, spontanea dalla volontà di un gruppo di ragazzi di riscattare il proprio quartiere. Le prime attività erano i tour nel rione, i tour guidati nella catacomba di San Gaudioso. All'inizio è stato difficile, le sconfitte erano anche quotidiane, cioè lavorare in un quartiere di cui si parla sempre male. Era difficile trovare ogni volta una forza nuova, una motivazione nuova per continuare, e in questo ha giocato molto Padre Antonio Loffredo. Nel 2008 abbiamo partecipato a un bando della Fondazione Con il Sud per la rivalutazione di un monumento abbandonato che potesse creare occupazione nel territorio circostante. E sapevamo che qui c'erano le catacombe di San Gennaro, semi abbandonate perché gestite con difficoltà direttamente da Roma, dal Vaticano, e pensammo di proporci per far sì che anche le catacombe di San Gennaro potessero diventare una porta aperta verso il quartiere.
Adesso, grazie alla vostra presenza, questo quartiere sta cambiando faccia. Voi da oggi siete inconsapevolmente parte di questo progetto, perché anche grazie ai vostri biglietti che non solo si genera lavoro, ma perché la vostra presenza incoraggia tanti altri. Si genera un indotto positivo nel commercio, nelle attività all'esterno della catacomba, si genera anche un esempio positivo per i tanti ragazzi che magari immaginavano di non avere futuro qui, che l'unico futuro potesse essere altrove o potesse essere quello di una deriva negativa.
La magia di questo luogo è molto semplice, è quella di avere una stratificazione così grossa che arriva come tempo a Ninive, a Babilonia, ma a differenza di quei luoghi, lì sono rovine da visitare. Qui è una vita che vive in questi siti che ancora vengono vissuti da gente, questa è la particolarità.
Il valore aggiunto è l'incontro con le persone, cioè l'incontro con noi. Ognuno di noi ha una storia da raccontare. Ha fatto sì che all'interno di questo bel sogno ci fosse la possibilità di costruire la storia personale di ognuno di noi, perché la cooperativa La Paranza nasce per dare un'opportunità ai giovani.
Prendere queste pietre che normalmente agli occhi dei tecnici possono essere scartate per delle imprese così importanti, per noi sono risultate testate d'angolo. Questo significa che Il welfare che noi pensiamo non è quello assistenzialistico, è quello che va a promuovere la persona, sicuri che tutti possono essere testate d'angolo di un sistema che non va a soccorrere, anzi li soccorre promuovendoli.
Oggi siamo 14 soci rispetto ai 6 iniziali e in 16 anni abbiamo creato 44 posti di lavoro e recuperato 13.000 metri quadrati di patrimonio.
Oh, it's always such an emotion for me to see this short presentation. I don't know if you get everything from the subtitle. I don't know how many Italian are listening this lesson. So just to give you just a few information more about the project, I wanted to show you. I'm going to share my video presentation. I hope you are seeing the slides. Martina, can you help me? Okay, perfect. So the project we were talking about, it's this one. It's located in Rione Sanità, which is basically, it's located in the historical center of Naples. But we consider this place like a suburb in the heart of the city. This is the poverty I grew up with, because I'm from this part of Naples, like the 80% of my colleague, which is a really crowded area. The density of population is really high. 32,000 inhabitants lives here. And then we have the 30% school dropout rate, and also the 65% youth unemployment rate. Added to those problems, we have lack of green areas and social services. It means that when we started more than 10 years ago, there was no hope in future. But we know when we started that we are from this amazing suburb of Naples that has such a great historical heritage, cultural heritage, not only the catacomb of Naples, but also church, building, and of course, peoples, us, the youth of the area. So we started to become the manager of our life. We start to take an advantage, and we said, okay, let's try to invent something that no one did before. So we started to take care about cultural heritage. So after 20 years, we realized that taking care about cultural heritage means for us taking care about people, which is the most important things. How we have done this, there will be more occasion to go deeply in the project, but basically we started the management of the catacomb of San Gennaro and the catacomb of San Gaudioso. The management of those two catacombs helped us to open this ghetto, Rione Sanità. And now, of course, we started always, every time with three main goals: enhancement of cultural heritage, so places, talent nurture, taking care about people, and involvement and participation about not only tourists, but especially about people that work for us and the local community. What happened during this almost 13 years? This was the catacombs before. This was the catacombs when we start to work. So we start to take care. But of course, we start to be like a multiplicator of opportunities. So not only my organization start to work, but also other no-profit social cooperative started to work for us or connected to us. Can you imagine that this project starts to have a really important social impact in the area around and in terms of education for the youth? Because we helped to build an orchestra, we started to build a community foundation that was based in Rione Sanità. So it's all about choice, because we had the opportunities, we had the trust from the local church to manage the catacombs. So this is what happened. And we, as you heard from my colleague in the video, we passed by to be eight volunteers at the beginning, and then in the end we became this year 50 employees in this social cooperative. And of course the suburb is changing in a better way, but the most important thing that changed, it's the hope in the future. Because when you start to change things where no one has hope in the future, then you start to have a cultural change. And then people from Sanità district started to have hope in future. So like this one single operation, one single initiative became really generative for all the area around. And of course, it's not only about working with the cultural heritage, but it's talking about education, having a social impact. And this sentence that we liked, they gave us this sentence last year when we won the European award as a cultural champion, that is caring for cultural heritage, it's caring for people. This is what it worked for us. It's not the solution of the problem of Naples, of course. It's just a small initiative. But whenever you start to take care about people like this, the change starts, and hopefully you are not able to stop this change. This is our case, and for the ones that want to go deeply in the Q&A or in the future, I'm always available. So
thank you so much, Vincenzo, for this amazing experience, very inspiring. Actually, you are a really example of how communal leaders can educate and spread awareness on the social perception of poverty. Poverty can be really reframed and can be really be part of the common good. So thank you so much. And now I want to ask to Teresa also her experience, and in particular, how this poverty, how Franciscan poverty can be experienced according also to your story in business management.
I think that one of the insights, Professor Sonite mentioned Luigino Bruni, when we were going through the experience of transforming the bank to be value driven and to have this culture of generating gift, was to understand that that poverty, that there are two kinds of poverty, and that one that is suffered and miserable can be defeated only by the other type, which is chosen poverty, which is, I think, also the Franciscan concept of choosing to be sober and simple, no? Even as a business leader, and in order to be able to also generate more resources for the common good. And it's that example as a business leader, I think, that we tried to also carry through our business decisions. So for example, I mean, you could say as a financial institution, we had the choice of either declaring off dividends at the end of the year to the extent allowed by law, or to being sober about it, because it's we declare dividends also because we are one of, or if not the only, rural financial institution that had over 400 shareholders. And even if you are not a cooperative, it's true that many of them are small, the majority shareholders were not so many, but this dividend, it was a balancing act of keeping them happy, but also conscious that the business enterprise they belong to also was directed towards helping the more marginalized in the community. So we had put up a foundation to become the social arm as well, and continuously had outreach activities, but not just for say charity, practicing charity at a particular moment, but as I keep mentioning, it was part of engaging the employees, the shareholders, and the community in the effort to solve the problem of the marginalized around us. No? And through as Regina was explaining before, even when Chiara spoke about profits going 1/3 for the poor, 1/3 for the business, and 1/3 for the culture of continuing culture of building new men towards this culture. Really, at the end of the day, all three directions of profits were all about sharing and strengthening this culture of sharing. Reinvesting in the company meant creating more employment and also giving the possibility for the enterprise to expand in other areas where its financial services were also needed. So I would say then we had personal practices that we introduced to everyone, not just in the bank, but also in the community. Like, for example, the practice of fagoto, of cleaning up cabinets and putting together things we needed. The practice of having bazaars that were honesty stores where you could get what you needed and paid what you felt it was worth it for you. Always keeping in mind more and more ways that as management we could institutionalize this kind of practices to build a culture of gift, gratuity. So,
yeah, it's all about the choice that we make. And as we also always remember, it's the people that make the difference. And this is really connected, wasn't prepared, but it's really connected to a question that I'm going to ask to Professor Laszlo. And we felt it on our skin. It's like Pope Francis said, no one is safe alone. And the example I showed you in the video and what we are doing, it's also possible because we have many expert business manager, professional lawyers that donate their professionality and their time to a common vision. This is really important, and thanks to Gabriele for remembering me this focus, because it's actually part of the discussion of today. So related about the choice that we could make, Professor Laszlo, I'm kindly ask you, what should the leader be like, and what decision does the leader take to make a company generative? What's your point of view about this? Professor Laszlo, can you hear us?
Yeah. Is this okay?
Do I have to repeat the question?
No, it's fine. It's
okay.
Fine. Yeah. So thank you for the question, and just respond to this big question in a short, concise way. So, contrary to many economists, I think that leaders in this area should be genuinely altruistic. From an economics point of view, it's counterintuitive, but I deeply argue for that. So genuine altruism in business, what we need, it means that you should give, your company should offer something positive for the stakeholders without expecting any return, without expecting return. And also it requires a deep care and care of and concern for the well-being of the receivers. So I'm strongly arguing on this, because in today's business we have a lot of examples, bad examples of opportunistic giving. I'm business ethicist, so the CSR, corporate social responsibility, all these kind of programs are mostly, almost exclusively, opportunistic giving. And it's a long story, a lot of empirical evidence. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because if you give something on an opportunistic basis, because you expect some reciprocity or this kind of things, this is perceived as manipulation or even corruption by your partners. And exactly for that reason, it will not work. So this is another long story, but here, just very shortly, I would like to focus on some really genuine altruistic new business models, just to mention them. I collected these examples from different spiritual traditions, from Judaism, from Christianity, from Hinduism and Buddhism. And in the slides what we can distribute later on, you will see these companies and their profile. Just mentioning this, Leket Israel is the biggest food bank organization in Israel based on biblical Old Testament ethical principle. Or Westmalle Brewery, a Trappist organization in Belgium, which is producing really the best beer in the world, which is Westmalle Triple. They got this prize in New York some years ago, and that is the reason why it is the best beer in the world, not just in quality, but also ecologically, ethically, and spiritually. Organic India is from India, an organic, very unique, exceptional organic agricultural company based on Hindu ethical principles, and they are not just serving, really caring about the local farmers, local communities, all these kind of social stakeholders, but they are improving the ecology, the quality of the soil, which is really not typical in agriculture today. And finally, some example from Buddhism, from the US, from California and New York. Greystone Bakery, a famous Zen Buddhist, organized a company, and they employ homeless people, marginalized people, and people who just left prison. Without discrimination, they offer really choice and care for this kind of very vulnerable people in New York, and they produce extraordinary high-quality bakery. Even Harvard Business School published case studies on this initiative. I will go back to Patagonia, which is the greatest example, also Buddhist from California, to responding to the second question about the role of spirituality in giving. So my point is, what I suggest to consider is we need genuinely committed altruistic leaders who are also good business persons and can creatively and effectively organize their businesses, their business models around this principle. This is possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Laszlo, for this inspiring speech and walking from the theory to practice make us conscious that organizations and leaders can have positive impact and contributing on the creation of fairer and more inclusive societies. So thank you so much. And yeah, just wondering, Teresa, can you give us some examples on what could be new KPIs that we intend as keep people involved, that that kind of leaders must consider today in order to contributing to the more shared responsibility also in addressing poverty?
Actually, when I was rethinking out the business plan for the bank to have a value-driven organization, the KPIs were the most difficult part, the traditional KPIs, because we didn't know how to, I was at a loss to what KPI to adopt to attain the vision of being value-driven. How do you measure the presence or absence of a value in a person or in an organization so that you could really claim to have arrived there? We noted that there was so much misalignment between our regards and recognition programs that were existing in the traditional business management world, best in income, best in loans, best in, until I got to talk to an HR specialist, and he understood what it was that we were trying to do as an organization, to evolve as. And so, we began with things like, maybe we can put into relief going the extra mile, examples of generosity of people in the bank or employees doing something that was not really in their job description, or a leadership and community service recognitions for those of them who would really find ways to get involved in their own communities, paying it forward or giving back. And so we tried to highlight those values in the recognition, in the times that we would recognize also the performance, of course, in the job and in excellence and in service, but along with it, also to put in relief these practices that we're developing towards helping out in the community, developing this culture. And so I think that there are still very few KPIs, to help organizations that want to be transformative and gift-giving, to align the performance, you could say, of their employees towards these goals. But I also think that it begins with looking for the right people that want to be part of this kind of a business enterprise that is more places more focus on values rather than rewards, material rewards in any case. So yeah, we tried to put it in our mission statement that what kind of enterprise we wanted to be, so that we would attract the right kind of people. And we said that as a mission statement, we would like to become a partner in the country's economic development and provide quality financial products to the SMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprise, which itself is a choice, to concentrate on this sector, because we feel it is the one that will deliver the best economic growth and also reaches out to the biggest labor market. And we said through continuous growth, we will provide optimum returns, not maximum, for our shareholders, as well as opportunities for our employees to develop themselves as fulfilled and holistic individuals, and to be aware of the role that they play in the lives of others. So we felt that by enshrining this in a mission statement, which we always communicate when we talk to new employees or present ourselves as an enterprise, that we would attract the right kind of people, and we would also keep ourselves on track as to the kind of performance, keeping people involved. I saw that term for the first time today when I saw the email, and I really like it as a better definition of KPIs than the traditional key performance indicators. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa and Laszlo. And now we can start our amazing Q&A session from the audience. So we have some questions, but for time constraint, I ask kindly to you to stay in 10 minutes maximum. And so for Professor Laszlo, what do you feel is the main difference between altruism and gratuity and reciprocity? So just in a few minutes, if you can give to us your ideas.
Yeah, so this just 3 minutes, because or 2 minutes, if I am right. So I would emphasize just one point and give one final example, just to inspire or thinking. One is that helping the poor is actually, it can be found in every spiritual traditions of humanity. Of course, not just in Christianity, but also in Judaism and in Islam, and also in Buddhism, Hinduism, and other traditions. This is important, but helping the poor also imply some inner transformation of the leaders, inner transformation of the actors. And helping the poor, it is required that some kind of a frugality or voluntary simplicity or spiritual poverty from the person, from the leader who are doing this. With the Wall Street mindset, okay, enrich yourself, greed is good, this kind of things, you cannot perform. You cannot help the poor. Gandhi is the biggest example in the 20th century of this kind of spiritual poverty and voluntary simplicity and modest living and serving millions of Indians and liberating India. One final example, what I mentioned is Patagonia from California. Yvon Chouinard, the CEO, the leader and founder of this multi-billion company, is a very successful alternative company. Very recently in September, actually almost at the same time as Assisi gathering we had, he declared, and this was front page in Financial Times, London, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, New York, and so on. So he donated his entire multi-billion company to the earth, to Mother Nature, to the Gaia. The entire company, all the future profits will go to restoration of the Gaia. And famously, he declared, or only shareholder, or only owner from now is the earth. This is Yvon Chouinard, California, Patagonia. This is the voice of Francesco d'Assisi today in business, or only owner, or only shareholder is the earth, people and nature together. Thank you, I stop.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Laszlo. And now maybe the last question for Teresa. So when does a gift stop being a gift but becomes instrumental and imposed?
I would say when it is no longer gratuitous, and I will also reiterate what Professor said, that if you are doing something because you expect something in return and not for the good that it is by itself, then it is no longer a gift. And it, in fact, it is something that we always have to be conscious of, because to instrumentalize the next person or help, in the name of helping, is always at a thin line, I would say. So it's always to go back to the why. Why are we doing this? And if the honest answer is simply because we want to help empower people or lift them out of their involuntary poverty, then and all the things that goes before that, no, certainly the choice of that one has to make to, because you always give up something in order to give something. It's never really a surplus. So if it is that kind of giving, then it keeps you from sliding into using other people for or like maybe what the professor was saying would be an opportunistic giving. So
yeah, I feel Teresa, to add also that someone told me that you have to ask not for what you are doing things, but for whom. And maybe this is the change when you start to donate for someone else. It's a donation, it's a gift. When you start to do it for yourself, for your company, for social responsibility, it's changing things, of course. So thanks for your answer. I know we have such a short time. It's not up to us. It's the organization that is giving such a strict time. But of course, all of this question, we need hours of discussion. Now we are just trying to inspire people and let's start to have the right questions, which is what came out also in the meeting of the Assisi. We don't have to answer the question. We have to start to ask ourselves the right question. So about the question, I have the last one that came from the students. I try to read it for Professor Laszlo. Subsidiarity management, democratic or collegiate companies where decisions are taken by a hierarchy which never has listened to everyone first. When does this format stop the efficiency?
It's not quite clear for me, the question. So can you just very shortly summarize this?
I can help, Professor.
Yeah. Efficiency versus what?
No, what they're saying, when you have subsidiary management where everybody gets involved, right, in decision making, but then when does that stop being efficient? When is that, when do we draw a line with these leaders, because we're listening to everyone, but when is it not working? If it is not working, we don't know.
Yes, so I think there is no general answer to that question. It's a very, very practical thing. So because we have a lot of good examples of this kind of a very participative, very democratic decision-making kind of companies, and we have also good examples of less participative, less subsidiary kind of alternative, also well-working companies. So I would say no general answer to that. This is case by case, culture by culture, situation by situation. You should, like in a laboratory, try and error to find an appropriate model for participation and more centralized decision making. So yes, absolutely. I don't want to avoid responding, but there is no general true solution for that. I think we should be creative, case by case, finding good balance.
Yes, and also I wanted to, this was just my question, just to ask Tess something. So the importance of receiving also, right? Because for a gift to, have the whole gift mechanism, there's the whole part of receiving a gift, which I feel we sometimes are more capable of giving than of receiving. It's easier to give. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
That's true. But I think, again, through the discussions we've had on developing, it's like, well, when the Pope came to the Philippines before, he said, okay, so you give, there was a whole disaster and everybody was in the mood to give. He says, but do you also receive? Do you know how to cry with the people who have been affected? And in a sense, that's related. So yeah, we're always very conscious that when we go out or we deliver a service and things like this, that we also recognize the wealth in the persons that we're helping. In fact, often we talk in the economy of communal experience, we talk about recognizing first the wealth before the poverty of the person in front of us. And in this way, we become very sensitive to the acts of reciprocity that they give and that we receive, that we recognize that they are giving and sharing of themselves, and that we welcome this exchange as well. It's not like you expect to receive something, but you're open to receive something because that's the way that people express their own abilities and their own wealth. So I think that's a very important point, that that one who gives must also know how to receive.
Yeah, so we don't have like a power disbalance also.
Yeah,
we're not offending the other person. Go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, just a reflection on that. Another, I think, deeply human, and sometimes cathartic example is in downtown Budapest here. There's a fantastic creative organization called Budapest Bike Mafia, the mafia in a positive sense. They are serving these young people with bikes. They are serving homeless people, thousands of them, every day, by fresh food, sandwiches, prepared by little children who are also participating in the program. It's a fantastic, creative, dynamic, young initiative serving homeless people. But your question, how can we receive things, gestures, or act from homeless people who are getting what we are producing for them, and they cannot really truly reciprocate this because they are, you can imagine, they are in a situation, some of them are alcoholics, drugs, living on the street for years, mentally disordered, all these kind of things. They want to reciprocate this kind of gifts to these young people, to the children who are producing the sandwiches and other services. But to receive this, their thanks, it's really very challenging, very, very challenging, because you should respect their deep but much destroyed humanness. So these are very basic things. Yeah, serving the homeless in every religion, every spiritual tradition, one of the biggest challenges. Because these are not just poor people, very much destroyed, homeless people suffering really deeply. Thank you.
I agree. And that is, what we're trying to do by painting the 29th scene, right? With the hug of the lepers, where you feel like it's hard, and then in the end, it's not. Okay, so thank you so much for this very interesting school. Thank you also, Gabriele, for helping all the coordination with the Management and Gift Village. And thank you, Martina, and thank you, Anne. So this was really interesting, especially the introduction on, I didn't know that that's where you came from. So that was very heartwarming for me. Our next school is going to be, as we said in the beginning, on the 31st of July. By the Vocation and Profit Village. So we're looking forward. Many pills are going to come up. We hope you guys will give us some more pills in the next months. And thank you, everyone, and see you next month.
Thank you. Grazie molte.
Grazie.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Grazie.